Hello, my friend, and welcome to your tarot reading for the month of May. Now, if you happen to be clicking on this video and it's not the beginning of May 2022, don't worry. The way this kind of energy works is timeless. So when you find this video, that's the time the message in this video is relevant in your life. Now, the way I do a pick a card reading is that rather than trying to figure out whether you should pick pile 1, pile 2, or pile 3, you have a look at the pendants here and you pick your favorite. So imagine time and space didn't exist and I was right there with you saying, you know what, I made these 3 pendants for my Etsy shop, but you can have your favorite. If you could reach through your screen and take one of them as your own, which one would you choose? And that determines the pile of cards for your reading. So would you choose pendant number 1, which is black Tektite, Moldavite, and Herkimer diamond? Pendant number 2, which is Prehnite, Herkimer diamond, and Moldavite? Or pendant number 3, which is blue Apatite, Herkimer diamond, and Moldavite? Pick your favorite, and then in the video description below, you'll find a link to the 3 readings. So if you chose pile 1, your reading starts right now with a little description about the particular talisman pendant that you chose. Black Tektite, Moldavite, and Herkimer diamond is one of the preferred trios of crystals when it comes to spiritual transformation, and especially recognizing our place in the world when we feel connected to a starseed identity or a different reality other than the one that we see in the 3-dimensional matrix of planet Earth. Now, that all might sound really out there, really woo-woo, and really crazy. Maybe not to you because you're watching this video and you picked this talisman, but for most people, that would be so far out there that it wouldn't make any sense. In your case, how this applies to your life when you're drawn to this combination of gemstone crystals, it's that you're ready to see beyond what you've perceived to be reality so far. You may have felt as if you have to struggle or try to fit in with people in your life. You have to kind of observe the way they react to specific things like news stories or fashion trends or music in order to kind of align your response to pass as human. If that's the case, these crystals are especially beneficial in your life's journey. Moldavite is described as being like a little piece of home to those who feel like Earth just isn't their scene. And what I mean by that is if the social structures of the world, if going to school when you were a kid and getting a job when you grow up and doing what society deems normal doesn't really feel like it would be your normal if you were given a choice, holding a little piece of Moldavite can be very comforting because the frequency is that of a higher plane where personal creative expression, compassion, love, and oneness is the priority. When it's combined with Herkimer diamond, that just amplifies that frequency, and black Tektite helps us keep grounded and practical despite those higher awakenings. What I mean by that is that it's all well and good to realize that your cosmic home is somewhere out there, but you're still going to have to pay for your food, clothing, and shelter, and any other fun stuff you may want to do while you're down here. So black Tektite It's elevating like Moldavite because it's also an impact glass created by meteoric impact, but it's also grounding. Any black colored crystal or stone or natural glass like obsidian, it's always very grounding and connected with Gaia, with Mother Earth. So this talisman is for you if you want your consciousness to be elevated, but you don't want to lose touch with the agreed upon reality in the world. I'm going to set the illustrated crystallery cards aside for a moment, and we'll start the reading today with the Osho Zen Tarot. I'm going to play some singing bowl to cleanse the cards, to cleanse the space. As I do that, set the intention that whatever messages come through in today's reading come through to serve your highest good from your higher guidance. Don't think of this as a message coming from me. Think of me as like the translator of the message existence wants to give you. I'm setting the intention that whatever messages come through in today's reading come through from the highest plane to serve the highest good. So the cards I'm going to look at today, since you probably noticed, every talisman to choose from included Moldavite in the mix. That's for two reasons. One, I've had comments on previous videos that some of you will always choose the talisman with Moldavite in it. And so this way, everyone gets to choose the talisman with Moldavite in it. The other reason is I was hoping to make the theme for today's reading transformation. Moldavite is the starborn stone of transformation. So I'm specifically asking the cards right now, what is it in the life of pile one that is transforming? We're going to look at three cards, present, past, future. Present is the here and now, past goes back about a month, future goes forward about a month. What are the patterns in the life of pile one that are transforming? Beautiful. And of course, these look at first glance like negative cards, so you might be wondering, why is she saying beautiful when sorrow and guilt are there? The reason is these are the energies that are transforming. Now, sorrow reversed and guilt reversed in the present and past means that you are overcoming these emotions. In the present moment, while there are outer world events and situations that would have led you to feel sorrowful had they happened in the past, you're making a conscious effort to choose your reality, to choose your reactions to the stimulus of reality. And you're deciding to be an observer of your own life, of your own mind, of your own emotional inner space. The fact that the card is here in a reversed position in a reading all about transformation means part of the alchemy you're here to live in this lifetime is to learn to go beyond the emotional triggers that had kept you trapped in the past. Now, going back about a month, the card of guilt reversed is showing that you focused your mental space about a month ago on overcoming the guilt. And this will mean something different for each person who sees the reading. It could be guilt about something that you did that caused harm to another person or to an animal. It could be, for example, when we go vegan and we think of all the years where we supported cruelty industries and we feel guilty about that, it's important to overcome that guilt when we realize at that time we didn't yet have the consciousness to make a compassionate decision. And so trapping ourselves with the guilt over an action that we committed out of ignorance once we have awareness just limits our expression in life once we're living with the more compassionate expression. Guilt is an emotion that we have when we outgrow the person we used to be and replace the person we used to be with a more conscious, compassionate, loving, respectful being. The reason people who are psychopathic or sociopathic or narcissistic don't feel guilty when they inflict pain and suffering on others is that they never evolve into the compassionate expression that recognizes the suffering of others. And so they can go through their lives doing all kinds of harmful things and never feel guilty about it, because they only care about themselves, their sense pleasures, their popularity, their material acquisitions. They don't have a heart for anybody else. Now, when we're empathic and when we deeply care about others and when we cultivate a compassion for others, we can sometimes be overwhelmed by guilt because in this world, it's impossible to live without causing some kind of harm to somebody else at some point in time. Even if we live a so-called perfect life where we're always friendly, always nice, give people the benefit of the doubt, go out of our way to do acts of kindness, donate to charities, volunteer to groups, even then we may be causing suffering to certain people because we don't have an infinite amount of energy and time while we're in these human expressions. What I mean by that is, even if you're nice to everybody in your family, somebody might feel ignored if you don't have the time to pay attention to them whenever they want you to, or to take their calls, or to reply to their emails as quickly as other people might. And in that sense, we cannot live in a way that's completely harmless. Somebody's feelings might get hurt. Somebody might fall in love with you and you don't reciprocate their feelings. It's not that you're doing anything to hurt them. It's that by being yourself, they're getting hurt. And when I see a card like guilt reversed in the past, when it comes to a reading about consciousness, it's that you're learning to let go of the shame or the self-blame when your mere presence is causing suffering to others. You're learning to accept the fact that you'll do as much as you can do to be a good person, to be a loving relative, a good friend, a listening ear, whatever it might be, and to let go of the shame associated with other people feeling hurt or feeling harmed by who you are and what you do. This could also refer to the feeling that we have when we start to think about our past decisions and we play that very self-destructive game of, where would my life be now if I had done something differently then? And this is something that, while I was deprogramming from a cult that I was in, I used to torture myself with that question. Like, if I hadn't gotten recruited into a cult when I was 24, if instead I had focused all of that time and effort and energy into developing my tarot business, how much further would my life be now than it is? And that kind of thinking really, really limits us, because we feel like no matter how much we do, how much we catch up, how much we expand, how much we work, we always feel like we're a few steps behind of where we could have been, should have been, would have been if we had done something differently. And this doesn't have to be as extreme as, where would my life be if I wasn't in a cult? It could also be something like, where would my life be if I had gotten a degree, or if I had moved to a different city, or if I had ended a relationship that turned out to be destructive, or stayed in a relationship with somebody who I now miss. It could be anything like that. When we feel like our lives would have been better if we had done something differently in the past, the guilt that hangs over us like a burdensome weight is the guilt that we feel about the actions we took that we believe harmed ourselves. And again, this is something we need to let go, because as long as we feel like the quality of life we're living is conditionally dependent on what we did rather than what we're doing now, we'll feel powerless. And so when we let go of that thinking of where would my life be now if I had done something differently then, and replace it with the empowering question of where will my life be next year if I do something differently from now on, we become the creators of our reality rather than the victims of our reality. These two cards reversed show me that you are consciously choosing to become the creator of your reality rather than the victim of your reality. Now, the future card of consciousness reversed shows that you have developed a pattern over the years of making a decision to meditate more, turn within more, be more introspective, make a positive change. And then after a little while of doing it, you kind of backslide and don't. When this card comes up, remember, the future is not a set reality. The future is still being created by you. And so you have the choice of whether to become pure consciousness in your life, in this body, or not. And what this card is showing is that there's a great potential over the next month for you to become more consciously aware of all the choices you're making, all your decisions, all your actions, all your plans. And the key is to remember something one of my favorite beings, Bashar, says, that our circumstances don't matter, only our state of being matters. So something that would make you sorrowful doesn't matter in the sense that it doesn't materialize your future reality. Your state of being, how you respond to it, how you handle it matters, materializes your future. Now, this is not meant to be a cold-hearted analysis that you're wrong to feel your emotions. Not at all. If you feel sad, don't suppress it. But if you feel sad, avoid the thought current that can spiral in an uncontrollable way where you feel nothing will ever be good, nothing will ever be happy, nothing will ever be great. Avoid that, because that's the destructive way that your circumstances can create a negative reality if you let your circumstances determine your state of being. Whereas if something bad happens and you go into the emotion, you feel the sorrow or the anger or the frustration or the annoyance or whatever it might be, and then once you're finished the cycle of that feeling, you decide, I do not accept for this to create my reality anymore. I would rather experience, and then name what you want, decide what you want, and start thanking yourself for creating that better reality for yourself. You elevate your frequency to something higher, and your state of being will start creating your circumstances. You have that universal cosmic conscious awareness, and you're coming to a space of realizing it, and that's very beautiful. And the crystal talisman you chose is made of exactly the gemstone combination associated with that cosmic consciousness. So there are no coincidences. You picked really well. Because you picked the starseed talisman, I'm going to draw a card for you out of the Starseed Oracle. It's a new deck I got. It's a deck I've been using for myself. I haven't used it in a YouTube video yet, so you who chose pile 1, you are the first to get one of these cards. And it is the card Whale and Orca Elders. Share your song, frequency of sound, diving deep. How interesting. In my own life, when I do readings for myself, I very rarely get cards associated with music and sound. But when I do these YouTube video readings, it regularly comes up that you, the viewer, are a sound healer and you're meant to express your song, your sound, your music, your words, your frequency in an auditory way. If you've heard this message come up in previous readings, this is just one more confirmation for you to share that sacred sound. And it might also be a time to look at ocean life, at whales and orcas and dolphins, and connect with them. They may very well be your animal guides, your totems. And I just remembered, in the online art community, May is often called Mermay, and there's all kinds of fun drawing and painting and crafting challenges incorporating mermaids into people's art. So if you draw or paint or do collage or make junk journals like I do, or make jewelry like I do, you might consider making something sea-themed in celebration of Mermay. The last card that I'll draw for you today before we conclude this reading is from the Illustrated Crystallery, the little cute cards you saw when you chose your talisman. If you want more, I always film an extension of the reading for my patrons over on Patreon. So for as little as $3 US per month, you get a reading extension for all of my Pick a Card Tarot readings. And those who join the $10 a month tier also get a 15-minute personal reading in the form of a video, but made just for them, where only they get the link. And that's a steal of a deal. If you ask me, that's the lowest I have ever charged for readings, but it's my way of thanking those who support my work. So your card from the Illustrated Crystallery, what are you becoming? And it's in the form of amber. I laugh because, again, it's so perfect. Letting go of guilt and sorrow and moving into a space of higher consciousness. This card is asking you, what are you becoming? So are you jumping into that higher conscious journey and becoming your highest possibility, sticking with your plan, allowing your state of being to override any circumstances that have previously held you back in order to do more? It's your choice. What are you becoming? I'll take a pause and let you just take in the beautiful image on this card. As a little kid, when my mom took me to the movie Jurassic Park in theaters, it was so magical, and I fell in love with amber because it's not just a gemstone, it's a time capsule. And there might be something in that for you as well when it comes to crystal healing or talismans or totem stones, as well as black Tektite, Moldavite, and Herkimer diamond. You may just have a very strong connection to amber and maybe other fossils as well. So thank you so much for joining me for this reading today. If you are a patron over on Patreon, or if you decide to join me on Patreon, the link to that will also be in the description box below, and I look forward to chatting with you in your extended reading. But if this is where it ends today, I wish you all the best in the month of May. Enjoy this beautiful conscious transformation. So much love to you, and bye for now. And hello to you, those who chose pile 2. I obviously need to ground my energy before I move from pile 1's reading into this one. It was very high frequency, and I can tell because my words are becoming jumbled. So I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to hold a couple of little shaman stones to help really ground. And now let's start that again. Hello to you, those who chose pile 2. It sounds funny because it accidentally rhymes. My granddad would always say, I'm a poet, and I didn't know it when that would happen. So I hope you're doing well. It's a fun little playful way for us to start your reading today with a little bit of laughter. Before we start looking at your cards, your reading actually begins with the talisman that you chose. You chose some of my personal favorites. Well, every talisman today has Moldavite and Herkimer diamond, my 2 personal favorites. But yours also includes Prehnite, which is another one of my favorites. Prehnite is this beautiful kind of minty green gem that is said to connect with extraterrestrial intelligence as almost like a tuning fork. It helps us equal the vibration of those who are communicating from a higher frequency so that we can be receptive to their messages and also transmit our messages. What I mean by that is, for example, if you want to start exploring the realm of channeling, the way you would tune a radio to the station you want to listen to, it's important that we tune our consciousness to the station or to the vibration of those with whom we wish to communicate. And Prehnite, obviously Moldavite, also does this, but Prehnite especially does this when it comes to beings from other star systems. And I guess all of the talismans we're looking at today are kind of starseed talismans. This might sound similar to the message from pile 1. There may actually be messages for you in multiple piles, which could be part of the reason when I first started to introduce this reading, my words got a little bit jumbled when I started to say pile 2. So if you felt like you wanted to pick another pile, but you slightly preferred this one, go ahead and watch both, maybe even all 3. There could be messages for you in more than one. Anyhow, this beautiful little talisman, I think of as a talisman for channelers because it combines that ultra high frequency transformational energy of Moldavite amplified by a fairly large Herkimer diamond compared to the teeny little Herkimer diamonds that were in the other talismans today, and the frequency vibration raising Prehnite. So if you've been feeling like there's a message for you out there, but you're not sure how to listen to it, or like you have a message for somebody or someone or something out there, but you're not sure how to transmit it, this is your confirmation that yes, in fact, you could be a very successful, powerful channel. And you could be someone who sends and receives those kinds of messages. Before I shuffle and look at your cards today, I'm going to play the singing bowl just to cleanse the space and to set the tone for the messages coming through for you. As I do that, I suggest you take a deep breath, breathe in deeply, breathe out completely, and set the intention that whatever messages come through today come through to serve your highest good. And I'm also setting the intention, let whatever messages come through in today's cards come through to serve the highest good of all those who chose pile 2. I don't usually do a little counterclockwise spiral over the cards with the singing bowl. In case any of you noticed that, if you're actually watching the screen as you listen and wondered why did I do that, I don't know. I feel like sometimes these little gestures come through in videos and it's not my decision, they just happen. Counterclockwise, I know, clears energy, while clockwise creates energy, so I think it's just to do with clearing the cards. So the focus of today's reading is transformation. So I'm requesting existence guides us to 3 cards that will show what is transforming in the lives of those who chose pile 2. We're going to look at present, past, and future. Wow. Okay, you know how I said there might be something similar to the message in pile 1? Pile 1 had one of the cards in their reading with orcas and whales, and one of the cards in your reading has dolphins, so there's definitely a sea connection. We'll get more into that later. Let's start with past and present. So going back about a month, you were really locked in a modality of overthinking things, stressing about things, internalizing everything that you heard from all different varied opinions and perspectives and news sources and friends and relatives and bosses or coworkers or employees or classmates or teachers or whatever, and it became over freaking whelming. The blah, blah, blah started to turn into inner chaos. The card being right side up, actually all 3 of your cards being right side up, shows that you are exceptionally aware of yourself. You are very keenly observant of what's going on in your inner space. And you understood that you were going through chaos and stress, and you recognized, like each different little chimney stack here, venting the toxins out of the mind of this individual, and you were able to recognize how different aspects of your life, different stress triggers, were equally influencing the chaos in your inner space in different ways. When we see all the little cogs in the inner machinery here, it represents your home life, your work life, your social life, your family life, your different friendships, as well as your relationship with yourself. And when there's a toxicity, and I don't mean people around you are bad or you're bad, I just mean events are feeling like they're spiraling out of your control and they're stressful, it can be difficult to be clear and present in yourself. Now, about a month back, you started making a conscious decision to clear out those stressors, to focus on your triggers and to overcome them. The fact that all this pollution is coming from those smokestacks shows that you were not only internalizing a lot of toxicity around you, you were also venting it and purging it, and you may have felt like you said things that you wish you hadn't said. You may have kind of blown up at somebody or gotten road rage or gotten annoyed with people and then caught yourself and thought, whoa, I'm becoming the very thing that stresses me out from others. I don't want this. And you transformed it. And so the stark difference between past and present, it's the difference between your mind being the sum total of all the different environmental pollutants feeding into it, and your mind being this chill looking dude here hanging out in the Himalayas, sitting on a book which represents choosing which knowledge to absorb and accept and integrate as your expression, beneath this beautiful magical rainbow which represents mystical awareness, with the sun on one side and the moon on the other, showing the balance between waking state and sleep, reality and dreams, what you've already manifested versus what you're planning to manifest in the future. The abundance card shows you as the creator of your reality. Abundance, as defined by Bashar, another similarity with pile 1, I don't always quote from teachers, but one of his quotes came out for pile 1 as well. His quote that I'm feeling is pertinent to you, pile 2. Abundance doesn't necessarily mean how much money is in your bank account or how many jewels you own in your vault or how much gold you have in your possession. Abundance, as per Bashar, means the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. Abundance is nothing but that, the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. If somebody has billions of dollars, but they can't calm down at the end of the day, relax, enjoy themselves, read a good book, get immersed in the words on the page, and feel fulfillment and satisfaction, if instead they're constantly striving for the next big business win or the next acquisition or exerting their control over other people in order to feel like big guys, that billionaire might have a lot of wealth, but that's not true abundance. I'm not saying no billionaires are abundant, because probably a lot of them are, and that's how they manifested those billions, if that's the reality they chose to create for themselves. But what I'm saying is we don't have to be financially wealthy in order to be abundant. For example, if you want the freedom to go for a nice long walk among the trees and smell the blooming flowers as we get into spring and cloud gaze a little bit, and you're able to do that, you're able to go outside and smell the fresh air and appreciate the flowers and cast imaginings into the clouds, you have abundance. If you're always able to get what you need to get, not necessarily by having the money for it, but by having the skill level to do what it takes to experience it, you have abundance. If you have an idea for something that you want to create and you're able to create it, you have abundance. The card being right side up, center in your reading, in the position of the now, that means you have abundance. And probably everything I'm saying, you're going, well, like, yeah, duh, Sarah. Obviously I have that. I know because I'm doing this. Good. This is your confirmation. If ever you're having a reading from me or from any tarot reader on YouTube, just a little aside, if something ever comes up in a reading and you think, whoa, no way, that does not sound right. That's not me. I don't agree with this. This doesn't sound good. It may just be that that message doesn't apply to you. Take what resonates, leave everything else. But in this case, I feel like it's such a positive reading. I'm sure it'll resonate because you have the vibration to match your co-creation of these cards. And somebody in the space of abundance recognizes that. Do you see kind of the sly smile on this character's face? He's like, yeah. This is my life. I've got this beautiful lotus that represents enlightenment. I've got a full belly that shows I'm well fed. I've got these books. I've got these grapes. I've got whatever I want whenever I want it. And so do you. That's your expression. You can go through the world with a look on your face of subtle satisfaction. And that will also be raising the vibrations of those around you. Human society can be very confusing to us at times because rather than celebrating the success and the achievements and the abundance of others, we sometimes feel, or people sometimes feel, not necessarily you and me, but I'm saying like the universal we, humans often feel jealous and angry when somebody else gets really successful because we're coming from an imposed perception of limitation. We feel like there's only so much abundance to be had, and if that person has more abundance than me, they're taking abundance away from me because I can't have it if they have it. Whereas the sly smile on this character's face is the smile that sees past that illusion, past that Maya, past that matrix, and sees existence is unlimited energy, unlimited abundance, unlimited creative capacity. If somebody invents something and you think, well, shit, I wish I had invented that. Why didn't I think of that first? Let it go. There are so many infinite things to be invented that haven't been invented yet. You can elevate your frequency to catch the next great epiphany. If you're listening to music and you hear a tune and it's so beautiful and it's so simple and you think, I could have composed that. Let it go. Compose the next beautiful tune. When you're in this state of abundance, you are a direct channel for your frequency. Whatever ideas resonate with you that other people are doing, embrace them, celebrate them, congratulate the inventors, the musicians, the artists, those who are doing what you wish you were doing too, and understand there is enough for you to do it as well and as successfully as they're doing it. Always celebrate the success of people who are doing what you want to do, because that brings you into the sphere of creation from which they are living. You're already there. These words are just your confirmation and your encouragement to keep going. Your card of the future, where else you're transforming your life, is that you're learning to listen more to your inner voice. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck, one of the most mystical. You're represented by this beautiful goddess here. She's crowned by the crescent moon. There's a whale or a dolphin jumping out of the water, jumping into the water. Dolphins might be one of your spirit animals. They could be one of your totems, one of your guides, and they represent intuition. When you're tuned in, when you have this crystalline inner vision, you're connected with the lunar cycles, you're connected with the sea, you're connected with the spirits. You're able to discern what's best for you in any moment. The fact that this is coming up in your future doesn't mean you don't have it in your present. It just means over the next month, your journey is going to include deepening your connection to your inner voice. I'm now going to pull a card for you out of the Starseed Oracle. It's a new oracle deck that I'm bringing into my readings today that I haven't used in a YouTube video before today. And aren't they just beautiful? I have to stop for a second to show you the artwork on the cards. I love bright colors, but there's something so magical about these kind of pastel tones, seeing the spiral galaxies and the universe, but rendered in kind of a more muted palette. I'm really vibing with that lately. It's like the art equivalent of an angel or a quartz. All right, so what's the message from the Starseed Oracle for my dear friend in pile 2? Activated earth, power places, ley lines, trust where you're led. So if you have a physical trip or a move coming up to a sacred place, this card is here to tell you you are in the right place at the right time doing the right thing. If you're planning any kind of trip, not just in the near future, but anytime, if you've set a goal to go to a specific place, whether it's Mount Shasta or Mount Kailash or a beautiful temple or one of the Earth's chakra points like Glastonbury, Avebury, go for it. All energy is with you. And there might just be a specific ritual that you're meant to do in one of those beautiful sacred places. It's a really cool card. I just remembered my friend Alexandra, who has a really cool shop on Etsy called Enchanting Spirits. She sent me this really cool sacred stone from Stonehenge. And the gateway, the portal on this card very much reminds me of Stonehenge. It's that type of ancient structure. Actually, I should show you guys. This is something new on my table. I can't turn it totally sideways, but look at the little crystal birds on it. I decided to keep a dish of my favorite stones so that when I'm doing these readings, all that energy is here. Anyway, I'm sorry, pile 2, I'm feeling this mind energy, but in a good way. Like instead of all kinds of pollutants and negative things, I'm feeling like the influence connecting to your guidance is having on me while I read the cards is that I've got a billion ideas coming to me all at once, all scattered. I felt like showing you my new little crystal dish. I feel like talking about this, talking about that. You are a dynamic individual, and your mind works in a way very different from the minds of a lot of people, in which you are constantly multitasking. When you're thinking about one thing, your mind will also start spiraling in multiple other directions, making some people think that you're scattered or that you lack focus or that maybe you even have some kind of an ADD. But the way I'm feeling it while reading your cards is more like you have such a high capacity for thinking, for planning, for imagining, for dreaming, for creating, that it's easier for you to split your attention in a myriad kaleidoscopic vision, in a kaleidoscopic thinking mentality, than it is for you to single-mindedly focus on just one thing. Anyway, visiting power places and ley lines can really help ground that energy so that instead of feeling like you've got 100 different ideas at once and you don't know which one to focus on, you can ground that energy, connect with Gaia, follow the guidance of Mother Earth, and focus on exactly the project you're meant to at any given time. And it doesn't mean all the other ideas go away. It means you can systematically take care of them when you're meant to. Very beautiful card. If you're not planning any kind of trip or move to a sacred place, you might want to do some research, maybe look up ley lines, look up the chakras of the earth, look up different sacred places, and take a screenshot of the ones that really resonate with you, maybe even print them out and keep them around your place as talismans to connect with the energy of those sacred spaces from wherever you are. I'll conclude your reading with one of the cards from the Illustrated Crystallery. These are those adorable cards you saw when you picked your talisman. And I'll mention now that for those who support my work on Patreon, there's always an extended reading where I pick a few extra cards for them, divided just like this one, pile 1, pile 2, pile 3. So if you want to hear more about your transformational journey at this point in time, you're welcome to support my work on Patreon. Thank you so much if you do. And you'll hear more messages from the Starseed Oracle and also from the Beyond Lemuria deck. If this is where your reading ends today, I wish you so much love and joy and inner voice magic in the next month. I'm also noticing from mind to inner voice, now that this bridge is in the middle, showing the two, where you were a month ago to where you'll be a month from now, is the difference between absorbing the chaos in the world around you and feeling overwhelmed, to silencing the chaos in the world around you, going within and projecting that peace. Look at how the smokestacks here are emitting pollution. That's how the polluted mind pollutes the environment. How when somebody is feeling chaotic and negative, what they put out into the world around them, how they treat other people, how they respond to stimuli, how they radiate their frequency is very low frequency. But when somebody is feeling peaceful and loving and tuned in and sacred, look at these waves, these beautiful, they almost look like northern lights, aurora borealis. It's like waves of divinity start radiating from that individual. You're moving from putting toxicity out there to putting divinity out there, transmuting the energy around you and making it something more vibrationally beautiful. Is that not the message that comes from your Prehnite talisman? Right? Raising your vibration, tuning into the frequency of those with whom you wish to communicate. It's showing that's what you're doing. And your last card for today, green fluorite. Is this mine? Perfect. This question refers to your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, what you carry in your life. Whenever something in your inner space, in your thoughts, in your perception feels discordant or chaotic, ask yourself the question, is this mine? Is it really your belief? Is it really your thought? Is it really your experience? Or is it something the world is telling you to believe, to think, to experience? And if it's not, let it go and look within. Beautiful card to end your reading. Again, if this is where we're parting ways for today, so much love to you. Enjoy this next month, and we'll see you in the next reading. If you're following me over on Patreon, thank you so much for your support. I truly appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the extension. You can find the link to that in the video description below. Bye for now. And hello and welcome those who chose pile 3. Your reading begins with your beautiful little talisman here. Neon blue apatite is one of my favorite colors. I know you thought I was going to say crystals there, didn't you? It's one of my favorite colors. There is something so magical about the shade of vibrant blue. It's like tropical waters on a bright sunny day when you're at a beach that looks too good to be real but is real. When I first encountered neon blue apatite at a shop called the Crystal Arc in Vancouver many moons ago, I thought it must be a fake stone. It must be dyed to get that color. I didn't know yet how perfect of an artist Gaia actually is, Mother Nature actually is. And the lovely ladies working at that crystal shop explained to me, no, that's real. That's the real color of that stone. And so from that day on, neon blue apatite has stood out in my mind as a gem that feels too good to be true, but it's true. And when you've chosen this talisman, it means that what you're transforming at this point in time might feel too good to be true. It might feel like what you're manifesting, what you're asking for, what you're working towards, what you're building, what you're experiencing might seem like it's too good to be true, but it's true. Our existence was never meant to be an existence of boredom, depression, limitation, frustration. It was meant to be an existence of expansion, creation, manifestation, and you are getting there. Neon blue apatite simultaneously energizes the throat and the third eye chakras, and these are the inner centers of creative self-expression and intuitive vision. And when they're both open and in flow, it means you have the intuitive capacity to see what you want to change and how you want to change it, as well as the vocal activation to sing it or speak it into reality. When we put neon blue apatite with Moldavite and with Herkimer diamond, it amplifies that frequency and also brings in the energy of intense divine transformation. That said, the theme for today's tarot reading is transformation, so we're going to look at cards to see where you, my beautiful friend who chose pile 3, are transforming in your life right now. Before I do that, I'll play the singing bowl just to cleanse the energy in my room here. I suggest you take a deep breath and set the intention that whatever messages come through to serve your highest good. Don't think of me as the one giving you a message. Think of me as the interpreter reading your message. And I'm also setting the intention. Let whatever messages come through me today come through to serve the highest good of all those who chose pile 3. All right, so we're going to start your reading with messages from the Osho Zen Tarot. We're going to look at 3 cards today. one for the past, one for the present, one for the future. The present moment card refers to right here, right now, whenever you happen to be watching this video. The past goes back about 1 month, and the future goes forward about 1 month. So we have present, past, and future. So you have been going through a bit of inner questioning with regards to what the matrix of this world, what the 3D reality in your life, in existence here on planet Earth, is telling you is right or is wrong. This is something that can feel like a cage that we're breaking out of once we start to recognize it. In the card of morality, which is this deck's equivalent to what would be the Hierophant in a typical tarot deck, we see this cloistered individual lowering himself before God, hands in a prayer position, locked behind bars. What the card represents is the feeling of inferiority that we get if we consider the divine, the higher existence, the concept of God or goddess, to be something above us. The moment we externalize evaluation on divine and make it something judgmental, superior, and elevated beyond what we are, we start to feel less and less significant, less and less worthy, and more guilty. This is one of the ways the religious structures on earth have conditioned us and reduced us into sinners and beggars and supplicants before an illusory divinity, because any actual divine that exists would never want us to lower ourselves and beg for mercy or feel guilty for being who and what we are. Actual divinity is loving, creative, expansive, embracing, and is in the space of oneness. When we go beyond the religious structures that have kept human consciousness enslaved for centuries, we start to realize an inner freedom that dictates our decisions and our actions and our morality based on what we know is right and wrong, rather than what we are told is right and wrong. I don't mean to say things like lying, cheating, stealing, killing are good, and that it's only the church that tells us they're bad. Those things are obviously bad because they are destructive. What I mean is the innate guilt that a lot of us have been saddled with if we are raised within the confinement, especially of an Abrahamic religious system, is that we would feel, for example, something like tarot card reading is bad because an authority, a self-imposed authority of a church tells us that this is witchcraft or this is negative. Crystal healing, it's not negative, it's positive, it's high vibrational, it's intuitive, it's mystical, and those things are not bad. Those things are empowering. Those things are things that help us understand that we are the creators of the reality which we experience. Now, for this card to be here right side up in the present moment shows you may very likely have been born into a family with not necessarily even religious, but with a rigid belief system that sometimes conflicts and contradicts to your own. For example, you decide to be vegan and your friends and family criticize you, thinking that that's stupid. You decide to move to a place that feels more energetic to you. You decide to be an artist and people think that's not practical. You should be a banker and earn money. You decide to be agnostic or atheist or embrace a tradition or a belief system different from theirs, and they suddenly think you've gone crazy. You stargaze and talk to those who are out there, whether they can hear you or not, and people suddenly think you've lost your marbles. That kind of religious, rigid, imposed belief system is what you're feeling trapped by at the present moment and what you are transforming. This is something that not only exists in religion, it also exists in academia. An example from my own life, when I was going to art school, I loved to draw and paint beautiful, in my humble opinion, not so humble opinion. I really feel inspired by beauty, so I would work with color palettes that I find beautiful and paint and draw little decorative details that I find beautiful. And the religious-like establishment of the teachers at that art school told me that instead I should be using my art to provoke people, to make people feel disturbed, because the particular trend in art, which I feel has been hijacked by the Matrix, maybe that's just me, maybe you agree, but the particular trend in the art world was towards disturbia rather than beauty. And that's just an art school example. In archaeology, if somebody goes on an expedition and discovers evidence of a civilization that predates the modern religious-like limitation that feels the history of the earth is fairly recent, the history of human civilization is fairly recent, but some archaeologist uncovers evidence to the contrary, they will be persecuted, much like somebody would have been persecuted by the church in the past. And so when we start to recognize these prison bars of consciousness that tell us you have to be a certain way, think a certain way, believe a certain belief in order to be acceptable, not even good. It's not like anybody will even praise you or celebrate you if you live within these limitations. It's more like they just won't ostracize you. The moment you realize that that is not who you want to be, the bars will start melting away. Now, it's interesting that this is just in the present, because if we look at your card from the past, it shows success. It shows a ticker tape parade and you're riding the back of a tiger. Your arms are thrown up in ecstasy. It's like you have experienced amazing success. You felt yourself being celebrated by existence. You felt like you conquered the world, and yet you still feel held back by certain limiting belief systems. And so I would say what you're transforming at the present moment is learning to rekindle the enthusiasm you once had when you were innocent to the systems of repression, before you realized just how limited a lot of the people in your surroundings might actually be. What I'm feeling existence wants to share with you through these cards is that when you feel successful in your idea, your understanding, your awakening, your development, your perception, if everyone else around you thinks that you're crazy, instead of camouflaging yourself with a veil of doubt in your abilities or guilt about who you know you are when it doesn't fit in with what everyone else believes, continue to celebrate your success. The people who won't ever celebrate your success will start dropping out of your life if they see that you're going to love yourself, embrace your journey, and believe what you want to believe, even when they don't agree with you. You don't need to convince everybody else that they are limited, that they're in a matrix, that their religion is negative. You'll never be able to convince them of that through logic because they're operating under a different logic than you are. But what you can do is celebrate your uniqueness even in a world full of conformity. And in that sense, you will start to attract a new community of people who resonate with that same definition of success. The fact that your future card is reversed shows that it exists as a possibility. Of course, the future is never set in stone. It's always determined by what we create it to be. And so the decisions you make in the present moment will determine whether or not this becomes your future reality. I've chosen to cover up this sinister, authoritarian, depressed guy with this card instead, because I feel like this would be the preferred reality for you to dance your way into. The card of totality shows you represented by the central trapeze artist here. And the character here represents your past, swinging you towards the character here who represents your future. Totality is about moving from where you were to where you want to be, with the complete trust and gratitude that existence is carrying you exactly where you need to go. It's a card about your vibe attracting your tribe, about your higher resonance manifesting for yourself the exact right people to help you on your journey and to help you make your decisions. There you were celebrating your success. Maybe you had a loving animal companion who was right there with you. But other than the tiger, you were celebrating that success alone. But in the future, I do see you creating the right group of friends, the right soul family, who won't try to limit you based on an outdated, limited belief system. I see you manifesting exactly the right group of people for you in this moment. The only thing you need to do to ensure that that happens for your life, that you do attract these right individuals who can help support your awakening, is love yourself, love your ideas, love your beliefs, and embrace the fact that you are different from the world you were born into. This world is not the best place. Look at this. People torture and enslave animals for no good reason, even though there are healthier alternatives that don't kill or hurt anybody. And their excuse for that is, well, that's the way it is. That's the way it's been done for generations. Religions operate under a consciousness destructing modality, making people feel like sinners and making people feel guilty. And why? Because that's what we were told. Countries go to war and fight against other countries. People are starving and not being fed. There's a lot of bad shit going on. Do you really want to fit in with a place that's that negative? Or do you want to elevate yourself beyond that negativity and change the world for a better through your higher vibration? That's how you overcome that limited belief system, is by realizing if everyone aligned to that old way of thinking, the world would be stuck forever in that cycle of negativity. But if everyone aligned to your way of thinking, how much better would the world be? The way you want the world to be is the way you can mold the world into being through your resonance. That doesn't mean it's going to change overnight, but it means the others who share your ideals will be magnetically attracted towards you, and you can start experiencing a small-scale community within your own group of friends, your own social circle, even if it's just online friends for now, but who share your vision. The world might not change, but your world will change. And that's the experience of totality. Now we're going to look at a card for you from the Illustrated Crystallery, the cute little cards you saw when you chose your talisman. I have to start remembering to shuffle on camera. I'm so in the habit of keeping my hands out of the frame. And your message is ebb and flow, represented by the beautiful mystical gem of moonstone. And so this shows that, like the cycles of nature, there will be ups and downs in life. There will be an ebb and flow like the currents and the waves. And it's not your job to be rigid. It's your job to flow with it. The beautiful mystical moonstone is an emblem of the goddess, so it could be a great time for you to connect with the divine feminine, with goddess consciousness, which is a patient, creative energy. And so again, I'm hearing the message for you. It's not your job to immediately change everything that you know is wrong in the world. It's only your job to decide what you want the world to be and align your actions into creating that better outcome. If each of us just changed our actions in alignment with what we want the world to be, the world will change much more rapidly. We can have the passion to make those changes and the patience to trust that they are changing, whether or not we immediately recognize the change. And I'll end your reading with a card from the Starseed Oracle. It's the newest deck I'm adding to my YouTube readings. But if you want to hear more, if you feel like there's still something that you're waiting to hear in your reading, I always do an extension of these monthly tarot readings for my patrons over on Patreon. So if you choose to support my work there, and I thank you if you do, you'll get further cards pulled from the Beyond Lemuria Oracle. But if this is where we're ending your reading, I hope it was an enjoyable one for you. I wish you the best in the months to come. So you may have heard cards fell out of the deck as I was shuffling. And whenever cards jump or fall out of the deck, I take it as a very specific key message for you. And I'm just noticing the timestamp on my recorder was 11:11, actually 1:11:11, so 1 hour, 11 minutes and 11 seconds. So very high frequency message. The cards that came up for you, the 7 Star Sisters, which of course is the constellation of Pleiades, so you may be connecting with some Pleiadian frequency right now. Birthing creations, the tapestry of life and expression. So you are the weaver of the tapestry of your own life. I see this card resonant with the card of totality, showing you moving away from the past into the future. And in fact, if we position the cards here and here, this one is the card of karmic relationships, Orion energy, polarity, soul growth, and conflict. When it comes to relationships, a karmic, as opposed to a soul connection, a karmic relationship is the kind of relationship created through a feeling of lack mentality, insufficiency, negativity, or a continuation of a negative vibration. Somebody hurts you, so you feel you owe them some pain. That creates a karmic bond where your soul will not let go of their soul until you do to them what they did to you, or vice versa. When we attract a karmic relationship, it's the kind of relationship where it's like a sibling who always knows how to push your buttons and get on your nerves and make you mad or make you annoyed, or vice versa. Those are the kinds of relationships that people have developed with authoritarian cultures on the planet, where there's a so-called spiritual leader keeping them enslaved, or a political figure keeping them repressed, or it could even be in your personal life, a romantic partner who tries to make you feel insufficient, a family member, a friend. These karmic relationships are that card right there. And you are swinging away from those karmic relationships into the 7 Star Sisters, into a higher vibrational community, ready with their hands extended to welcome you. Notice on this card the trajectory of your life moving from here to there. There's no light shining on the past, but there's a beautiful light shining on the hands yours are about to join. There's a shining light on a new community that I feel you may or may not have met. These might be people yet to enter your sphere of influence, but the next community you join up with, the next friendships you make, the next group that you join is going to be illuminated. It's going to be so much more resonant with who you are and where you want to be. The message again, birthing creations, tapestry of light, divine expression. You are going to be merging with a group who are already doing what you would love to do, who believe the things that feel natural and that align with your beliefs. It's a very beautiful card. You might want to do some image searches for the Pleiades star system. I'm also getting a feeling of the ancient Greek goddesses, the muses. When I look at the women dancing in this card, it's just so beautiful. And I feel like there's so much there for you in the frequency of divine feminine energy. Even the color scheme matches with your Moonstone card. So thank you so much for watching the reading today. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, if you're joining me on Patreon, as a patron on Patreon, thank you so much for supporting my work. I really appreciate it. The link for that is in the video description below. And if this is the end of your reading, I wish you love and light and joy and creative fulfillment in the month to come. And I'll see you in the next pick a card reading. Bye for now.